There are certain names that never truly disappear. They drift into the background for a while, quiet and still, until something pulls them forward again with a force that surprises everyone. Farrah Fawcett is one of those names, and in 2025, she is everywhere again, on auction floors and hair salons and bookstores, on social media feeds, and in the kinds of late-night conversations people have when they realize they never really knew someone they thought they did. Her sculptures just sold for up to $500,000 at auction. Salons across the country are reporting a 40% jump in requests for her signature feathered flip. A major memoir from her close friend Cher has cracked open parts of her story that had never been told publicly before. And the more people dig, the more they find a woman far more complicated, far more courageous, and far more cheated by the world around her than the glossy poster image ever suggested. To understand why she is back, you have to understand who she actually was, not the icon, the person. Farrah Fawcett was born Mary Farrah Lenny Fawcett on February 2nd, 1947, in Corpus Christi, Texas. She grew up the younger of two daughters in a conservative, working-class Catholic household. Her father worked as an oil rig contractor. Her mother kept the home. Money was tight, and expectations were traditional. She attended St. Patrick's Roman Catholic Church School, where structure and discipline shaped her early years. But even inside that narrow world, something in her was already reaching outward. By age 5, she was winning local art contests. She was drawing. She was sculpting. She had found a creative language before she had found the words to explain it. By the time she reached W.B. Ray High School in Corpus Christi, she was impossible to ignore. She was voted most beautiful all 4 years, not once as a fluke, not twice as a coincidence, but every single year. Teachers noticed more than her appearance, though. They saw focus in her, discipline, a quiet seriousness that people would only recognize in hindsight after the fame made everyone look back and say they always knew. In 1965, she earned a beauty scholarship to the University of Texas at Austin, where she arrived with plans to study microbiology. She joined the Delta 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 sorority. She settled into campus life. She tried to follow the plan, but the plan had other ideas. Her photograph kept getting attention. She was named one of the 10 most beautiful co-eds on campus, and a Hollywood publicist took notice. By 1967, she had made one of the most difficult decisions of her young life. She dropped out and moved to Los Angeles. She had no powerful family connections, no safety net, and no guarantee of anything. She had a strong inner pull, and she followed it anyway. Los Angeles tested her immediately. Casting rooms said no over and over. She took what work she could find, print ads, shampoo campaigns, anything to stay afloat while staying visible. In 1969, she made a choice that split opinion sharply when she posed for Esquire in a nude shoot. The backlash was fast and loud. Some people called it brave. Others predicted it would end her before she had even started. The attention, though, made her impossible to overlook entirely. Doors that had been shut began to open just slightly, just enough. And yet, even as those doors cracked open, Farrah was already drawing a line that she would hold for years. When Playboy came calling with serious money, she refused. Agents pressured her. Industry voices told her that nude shoots were the quickest path to fast fame. She still said no. It cost her work in the short term. It also cost her nothing of herself. That distinction mattered to her more than most people realized. Her first film credit came in 1969 with a French comedy called Love is a Funny Thing, directed by Claude Lelouch, where she played a tiny, uncredited role, a college student with no spoken lines. It was a beginning. Her first speaking role followed in 1970 in Myra Breckinridge alongside Raquel Welch, a film pulled from Gore Vidal's controversial novel that became known more for its chaos than its craft. Farrah later described it as Hollywood's sleaziest project. She felt pushed into it by her then-boyfriend, Lee Majors, and said the experience stayed on her in a way she did not want. The film failed, but her name grew larger anyway. Fame, she was learning, could rise even when the work hurts. Through the early 1970s, she took guest roles on various television shows while her personal life was quietly accelerating. She had met Lee Majors in 1968, and their romance quickly became a headline machine. It boosted her visibility while quietly adding pressure. Friends who were close to them noticed controlling tendencies hiding behind Majors' charm. Farrah kept working regardless. Then 1976 arrived and changed everything. In 1976, photographer Bruce McBroom shot Farrah in a red swimsuit. The resulting poster sold over 12 million copies, making it the best-selling poster in American history. 6 million copies moved in the first year alone. It turned her into a cultural symbol almost overnight. But while the world was celebrating the image, Farrah herself was uneasy with it. She hated being treated as an object. She worked to introduce her own sculptures into later shoots, quietly pulling the frame toward her mind and away from her body. She was already fighting a version of herself that the industry had decided she was. That same year, she joined the cast of Charlie's Angels on ABC as Jill Monroe. The show premiered on September 22, 1976, and by the end of its first season was pulling in roughly 59% of television viewers. That is nearly the entire country leaning toward one screen. Her face became global. Her hair became a phenomenon. And her working conditions became a quiet scandal that nobody talked about at the time. She was earning $5,000 per episode while carrying an enormous portion of the show's cultural weight. The shooting days stretched to 18 hours. The press never gave her a moment of peace. Producers wanted her image, not her voice. When she pushed for Jill Monroe to be written with more intelligence and depth, she was pushed back. When Lee Majors' jealousy over her fame began causing new fractures at home, the stress layered on top of itself. By the end of the first season, she had made her decision. In 1977, after only 8 episodes of the second season, she walked away from Charlie's Angels. The move shocked Hollywood entirely. She was leaving behind a contract worth roughly $7 million. Producers offered her a raise to $10,000 per episode to stay. She refused. Her poster alone had already earned her around $400,000 in royalties that year, more than her entire season salary. She had asked for 10% of merchandising profits instead of the 2% she was receiving. They said no. Then they hit back with a $13 million lawsuit and worked to have her blacklisted from the industry. The fight played out loudly and publicly. They eventually settled, and she returned for 6 guest appearances, but the damage to her industry relationships was real and lasting. The industry did not forgive stars who challenged its power structures. Farrah paid for that courage for years in cold rooms and closed doors. What followed was a difficult stretch in film. She appeared in Logan's Run in 1976, where critics found her performance flat and said she had been rushed into the role without enough preparation. Somebody Killed Her Husband in 1978 was supposed to be a mystery thriller and instead became a critical joke, earning a nickname from one reviewer suggesting the title should have been Somebody Killed Her Career. She tried again with Sunburn in 1979, even performing her own water stunts, but the film earned only $6.7 million and a Razzie nomination for Worst Actress. Saturn III in 1980 brought its own set of problems. A tense set, scenes she never felt safe doing, more Razzie nominations, and only $6.5 million at the box office. Each failure cut deeper, because she was genuinely trying to grow. Every exit from one box dropped her into another one. Cannonball Run in 1981 finally brought a commercial hit at $100 million, but the production carried its own dark weight. During filming in June 1980, her stunt double Heidi Von Beltz was left quadriplegic after a crash caused by a car with faulty steering and no seatbelts. Farrah was shaken by the accident for years. Even inside a success, she felt the cost of Hollywood's recklessness. Then came The Burning Bed in 1984, and everything shifted. She played Francine Hughes, a real woman who had set her abusive husband on fire after years of violence. Farrah prepared with an intensity nobody expected. She rehearsed for 2 weeks. She allowed herself to be locked in a closet for half an hour to physically access the fear her character lived in every day. She sat in hardback chairs during long courtroom scenes to mirror her character's physical discomfort. The climactic scream was captured in a single take, and when it was done, the crew stood in silence. When the film aired on October 8, 1984, audiences finally saw what had always been inside her. She earned an Emmy nomination. Critics, who had spent years reducing her to her poster, were forced to reckon with what she could actually do. A year earlier, she had taken on the Broadway play Extremities in 1983, playing a woman who turns the tables on her attacker. The physical demands of the role were so intense that she walked off stage each night with real bruises. Security guards stood near the stage because audience members sometimes genuinely believed they needed to intervene. She needed therapy after performances to process the emotional weight. But the role broke her old image permanently. In 1986, she reprised the story for the film version of Extremities, improvising roughly 70% of her dialogue after the original director was let go. The film earned her a Golden Globe nomination and ignited serious national conversation about violence against women. She continued pushing into difficult territory with Small Sacrifices in 1989, studying real trial transcripts and news footage to portray a mother who had shot her own children. The performance earned her another Emmy nomination. People who had once dismissed her as a pretty face in a swimsuit were now watching her carry entire films alone. Her personal life remained complicated throughout these years. Her marriage to Lee Majors ended in 1982 after years of jealousy and control. Her long relationship with Ryan O'Neal burned bright, and then fractured repeatedly over nearly 3 decades. Their son Redmond was born in 1985, pulling them together again before things would unravel again. On Valentine's Day in 1997, Farrah arrived at Ryan's Malibu home unannounced and found him with another woman. She stood in the doorway, asked the woman her name calmly, and left the room. She later said she felt devastated but not entirely surprised. Their relationship never truly recovered from that moment. That same year, she also won a legal battle against her own production company, proving in court that she had been underpaid for her Emmy-nominated work in Small Sacrifices. She was awarded $1.5 million. Hollywood's reaction was to quietly pull away from her. Colleagues distanced themselves, but she had chosen fairness over comfort, and she had won. She also testified in court that year against producer-director James Orr, who had assaulted her during a confrontation, slamming her head to the ground. His arrest and conviction pulled national attention to the treatment of women in the entertainment world years before such conversations became mainstream. In September 2006, at age 59, she was diagnosed with stage 0 anal cancer. She underwent chemoradiation treatment at UCLA and refused a colostomy in order to preserve